Good morning and welcome to today's Navigating Through the New Digital Denture Landscape, Part 2 with Mark Williamson. My name is Rita Davis. I am the Assistant Marketing Manager at Whitmix, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. I would like to begin with a few housekeeping items. First, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a question box. Please feel free to type any questions you may have throughout the presentation. Mark will be answering your questions at the end of the webinar. Next, if you are a CDT, this webinar is approved for 1 hour of CE credits. You will receive an email within 1 to 2 days that will tell you how to obtain your credit. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded. Within 48 hours, you will be up on a Whitmix website in our webinar section. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing Mark Williamson. Mark is a certified dental technician, a member of the Dental Technicians Guild, and currently a senior technician manager in Ottawa Dental Laboratory in Ottawa, Illinois. He has 37 years of experience in dentures, implants, partials, and ceramics. His certification is in full dentures, and he is also a COIS recognized specialist. I'm pleased to tell you that Mark was named Technician of the Year by his peers at the NADL's Vision 21 meeting 2 weeks ago. Congratulations, Mark. Mark is an experienced chair-side all-on-4 specialist and teaches other technicians to master chair-side conversions. His latest success came in September 2017 when he was announced first place winner in the Panthera Dental Master Cup. Today, in part 2 of the series, Mark focuses on the top digital denture manufacturing techniques available to laboratories and dentists. Learn the advantage of manufacturing digital dentures in your own laboratory and or partnering with an outside source. Mark will highlight these systems and discuss options available to mill or print digital dentures. Okay, Mark, if you're ready, let's talk digital dentures.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Great, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to just thank Whitmix for having me back to do part 2, the Navigating Through the Digital Denture Landscape. It's going fast. I kind of mentioned about it in part 1, and every day there's something in the news, something different adding to that we can do, something that's coming at midwinter. So I want to just kind of share with you some of the things that I've kind of seen as a laboratory technician, that we have the equipment to produce these. And so I just want to show you, what some of the results and things that I've seen. So just kind of a picture of me, if any of you don't know who I am. But that's me there, and Rita's already kind of gone over some of my experiences. Today, I do want to just talk a little bit about a scanner and the design software. If you've already in it, you kind of understand it a little bit. There is an add-on module for dentures. I also want to talk about if you don't want to do it in-house, maybe you just have a scanner, you don't necessarily have a mill, or maybe you have a printer. There's some things that you can do with Avident to kind of get you started. If you don't have the time, maybe your Crown Bridge laboratory, you want to get involved with it. You got the scanner, but maybe not sure, you don't want to deal with the denture setup and going through that. There's design services, Full Contour, and Avident are 2 of the ones that are out there. The equipment, obviously, we would need a printer, some sort of milling system, and there's plenty on the market to choose from. Materials for printing and milling. Talk a little bit about some results from in-house mill versus printing results, and pre and post processing, and then finalization. So let's get started on this. So as far as the scanner CAD software, you may be familiar with probably 2 of the most popular CAD software out there, 3Shape, ExoCAD. 3Shape coming with the 3Shape scanners. CAD, there's more of a open source where you can use Medit, Degree of Freedom, different types of scanners that are out there. Some of the scanners here are 3Shape. Some of the scans you can do in-house. You can also have your doctors, if they have the Trios wireless, they can intraoral scanner can use and send you files that you can go ahead and design, or you can simply send those to like Avident. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of the most popular ways of scanning for a denture is, as you can see on the right side, functional impression with a Williamson antagonist. That's, obviously make a bite rim, doctor take a wash inside the bite rim and take a bite registration. You can utilize the patient's existing denture with a wash in it and a bite registration. And probably one of the most popular ways that we've seen now coming in, where doctors may not necessarily have to change from traditional ways. Patient may not want to give up their denture. You could duplicate their denture. That would be an option, and have the doctor take a wash inside of it, or taking a wash inside the bite rim. That works. We get that if you've been a denture technician, we get that a lot, right? Where at the bite rim stage, they take a wash inside the bite rim and send it to you. You're reporting another model and mounting it. So the first step you would do is you would get your model scanned. You get your opposing scan, and then you would go ahead and scan in the bite rim that had the wash in it. And then the scanning software will go ahead and make a model for you to fabricate it on. Probably, again, one of the most popular ways is scanning the actual model, scanning the opposing, scanning the bite rim, and capturing all the data that you need. The biggest important part is, obviously midline, photos help, anything that you can get for traditional denture setup. So once you kind of get it scanned in, this is from 3Shape. Once you get it scanned in, you're going to want to block any sort of major undercuts. If you're familiar with 3Shape, the wax knife settings, if you need to block out any other little areas, just as if you would with wax, you can go ahead. The next point would be to mark your landmarks. You need to tell the software where the retromolar pad is, where the tuberosities are, the canine point, and that's going to help aid in getting your denture teeth set up. Next, you would go ahead and select an outline where you want the base to extend to, down into the vestibule, your periphery, post-stem area, and then here's one for the lower. You just want to do what you would normally do. And I will say, just from experience doing it in a virtual world versus drawing it on the model, I've been doing it for so long, it definitely takes a little bit getting used to marking that and kind of second guessing yourself, but it gets easier over time. You can pull in the patient's existing reference denture to help you set your occlusal plane. Maybe the patient likes this denture. They just want a new one. Then you can go ahead and select your teeth, and you can go ahead and design it. You can move the teeth individually. You can move quadrants. You can move whole arch, forward, back. You have every tool at your disposal to use. The tooth library, we talked about this in part one. Your tooth library, you need to purchase a tooth library, and I think the Culture is about $5,000 annually to utilize it. If you're going to be printing or milling their molds out of like a PMMA, you can use their individual tooth molds, so you'll want to know that. So if you're using their individual teeth, it'll print the sockets for those teeth to fit into. So, and it's worked very well so far with from what I've seen with the results, and I'll have some pictures to show you that. So you can kind of set up your base thickness and your drill compensation, your print settings. There's definitely a learning curve to that. You can definitely work with you know, Kulzer or whoever you're going to partner with, or you can get help, obviously, with 3Shape of getting these settings set in. And like I said, it is a little bit of a learning curve. Probably practice, you know, printing some and milling some to get it dialed in. So it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. I will say the printing seemed to be a little easier than milling for us at first. So here you can sculpt your tissue. You can, you know, put all your anatomy however you would want, however you would do it in wax. You can do it virtual. And then here you just kind of have it all set up, ready to go, ready for manufacturing. Now, like I said, if you didn't want to or couldn't, you had to have that experience yet to get you going with it and offer, you could use Avident. They have great solutions. Again, like I said, we talked about this in part 1. If you haven't seen that, you can definitely go to Whitmick's website and review that. So 2 of the workflows that Avident offers is core and share. And core is basically where Avident will fabricate the prosthetics for you. They have certain certain options that only they'll mill. They will allow you to mill. That's part of the share program. If you want to print your own try-in, mill your own denture, print your own denture, you can definitely do that. So those would be the 2 options. And the biggest thing that I can tell you is that even though you send your scan files to Avident to have them do the design, you still have full control of that design. Once they send you that design, you can tweak it. You can move the teeth around. You can make any sort of changes you would want. And then you can actually send a link to your doctor, and they can review it before you have Avident make the prostheses for you, or they'll send you the file for you to fabricate. So there's a lot of good options there. And I showed this in part 1, but I wanted to show this here. We'll turn that down a little bit. But basically, like most of these digital dentures start, it's the scan, design, a review, manufacture, and finishing. So whether Avident's doing or you're doing it in-house, it's very similar. You need to scan your impressions, impression scanning, model scanning, however you want, you can do that. As far as the design, like I said, Avident will do the design for you. I don't work for Avident. I don't get paid by Avident, but I just feel it was a good option to get started, and them being kind of the leaders and been doing it for quite a while. It's kind of a nice stepping stone to get into this world. That's why I show you. You can, like I said, review it. You can send a link to your doctors. They can pull it up on any sort of computer, iPad, iPhone, and they can review it and okay it. Here you can see them milling, and here they're milling the monolithic XCL, where it's the pink and teeth all in one piece. And, you know, that's part of your core. Only they'll mill that. And then you would finish it as you would your traditional way, or you can have Avident send it to you back completely finished for you. So some of the highlights of this software is obviously teeth forever. I think not just Avident, but if you do it through 3Shape or exocad, or you do any of these digital dentures, you're going to have that file. And if the patient loses it, or the dog eats it, or what have you, you could go ahead and print another one or mill another one right away. Obviously, their software has an option for perfect occlusion. It's one of the highlights that gets dialed in. And like I said, you have the ability to do individual tooth setup. You can move teeth around. You can use signature teeth, whether it's ivoclar, candular, Kulzer, or Bioform. And it's efficient. And like I said, you have full design control. So one of the Avident core cases we have done is we wanted to do a monolithic XCL case, and we wanted to do immediate denture. And I wanted to see how this would work if we just went from start to finish. No trying. Obviously, the patient's got quite a few teeth left. But here's how the patient presents. Um, the doctor did specify he'd like us to follow the length of tooth number 9. So we did. So it gets scanned. We upload the files to Avident. They send us a design back, and what you see here with the blue transparency is their existing dentition. Here we've put in and selected the appropriate teeth, and you can see that we're positioned number 9 where the existing number 9 was, and 8, 7, and 6 are now raised up to kind of follow and kind of correct the occlusal scheme. And then here's an image with the base. The one thing I will say about all these systems, whether it's Avident, 3Shape, exocad, the design looks kind of cartoony to me. Hopefully down the road it gets a little better, a little bit more realistic. But that takes a little bit used to kind of looking at it. We're used to looking at it, obviously, in real life, and seeing it this way, it kind of throws you off a little bit, but it's a learning curve. And here's the denture in place, and there's the blue overlay of the existing dentition, and you can toggle that on and off. Here's a look at the design. You can see that this screenshot it looks like the dentures squished together from left to right, and that is in the software. But when you toggle on the grid, it becomes more realistic and more of the size and shape. So again, kind of a learning curve of learning the software from Avident. Lateral views, lingual view, intaglio view. Here you can see where the denture teeth will be milled, or again, this was monolithic, so they won't be poking through. And here's the existing denture that was fabricated. Full immediate, teeth extracted, sutured, denture placed. And I know that the shade's not quite where we want. I don't know if anything to be done to the lower, or because this is a transitional. For whatever the reason, besides the shade, I thought this looked pretty good. This is 2 weeks post-op, and that's kind of a view with it in the mouth. So looks like he has a stronger smile side on his right side. The lip goes up a little higher, but from the doctor kind of sharing these photos, Dr. Hallis, he thought it looked very good and went very well. He was very impressed with the fit. And I hear that a lot about printed dentures and milled dentures, is digital dentures, is that the fit is just amazing. Less sore spots, less post-op adjustments, one of the highlights. And what's nice about these dentures being milled out of monolithic is the denture materials is processed in such an industrial strength that it's so condensed. There's hardly any residual monomer. There's not going to be any sort of shrinkage, obviously, during fabrication, especially during milling. It's going to be exact. Most of these cases don't even need a post stamp. But I'm kind of old school. I still like a small little post stamp just to be safe. One of the options of on the share side from Avident, we did a case here where I wanted to print the try-in in-house, and here we have the design that was sent. And this is the printed try-in in the patient's mouth. Now you can see that number 9, 10, and 11 need to go up. It's kind of canted a little bit, so we're going to straighten that out. We're going to go ahead and make those changes, and we're going to print another try-in. Or actually, what you could do is just make the changes, send the file for the doctor to look at, and can just verify, yes, okay, that looks better. And then you could just go ahead and have it fabricated. You wouldn't have to do another printed try-in. One of the nice things about with digital dentures and doing these printed try-ins or a milled try-in is that the patient can take these home and wear it. They can eat with it. They can function with it. They can really give it a good trial. And I've never been able to do it with the conventional wax try-in before. So another pro to digital dentures. So we did raise that. I don't have a pic of the updated trying yet. We're still working on this case. But the one thing you don't see here is this patient still had a single natural tooth left. And so what we did was we printed and had it designed to fit around that natural tooth. And so doctor had to do a little adjustment to get it fully seated, but not much. And I thought it worked well, other than, you know, the downslope of the occlusal plane there. Like I said before, if you are new to digital dentures and maybe you don't have the program yet, but you have a scanner, you can definitely send these files to an outsourced design service. Full Contour being one of them out there, and Evident being another one. I believe there's more. I'm sure you'll see more and more coming as this gets going. Okay, so let's talk about equipment, printing and milling. I can just talk about some of the ones that I have, some of the ones that I've heard. In part one, we talked about some of the, I think I had a slide on there showing all the different players in the digital denture world of all the different milling systems, the printing systems that are out there, and there's just more and more coming every day, so we can be inundated. But here's a nice system, obviously WhipMix, but I've heard a lot of good things about this, not just because I'm doing the webinar, but I've seen some people on social media, talk to some technicians, are having some great results with this. So I wouldn't mind taking a closer look at that myself. These are printed off the Asiga, and I believe this is with the Dentka material that they're now having, and I have a little slide to show you that later. And kind of the finished, and Sherry Weatherby, she shared these with me, so I appreciate that. So the printer that we have is Carbon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Carbon, the mills we have. We have some Beelans, we have some Rollins, and so we ended up using Roland. So I made set of dentures. I made 4 sets of dentures. I made a set of dentures. One was being milled, and I used individual teeth to bond into it. 3 were printed, and I was going to mill. I had milled PMMA denture teeth, printed denture teeth, and use the supplier's denture teeth. And so this is just kind of a cam shot of setting it up in the mill to have the teeth milled. And so here's not the best photo. I have a couple more photos of this coming, but it actually milled pretty well. And one of the things you have to think about with milling is burrs. So cam strategies, burrs, you know, obviously running the machine. So there's definitely a lot of learning curves. So with the Carbon printer, you know, this is what we're using, and we're using their denture base, and this is kind of their strategy here for printing dentures and getting it set. You know, what I thought was interesting is, you know, having them show us the dental terminology when they use their lingo to tell us where to position these dentures on the platform. And you have the non-tissue side, the cameo, and the tissue patient side, obviously the intaglio. The rest of them, you know, we pretty much know. But you want to import the base models, and it'll walk you through it. You get to choose your resin. We're going to be using Dentka base, and about orientating your bases on the platform. Can you stand it, lay it down? And there's certain protocols. You need, for the upper, it needs to be at a 30-degree angle. For the lower, it needs to be a 15-degree angle. You can't tilt it up higher. If you do, you know, you could have issues with your print. It may not print right. So I see people on social media, it looks like from different pictures, maybe people putting them more straight up and down. And I will say every printer is a little bit different. So I would just follow the manufacturer's instructions, following it. Again, I know some people might like to experiment and go a little bit differently and do things a little bit differently, and maybe not having any bad results, and that's fine. But I'm all for always following the manufacturer's instructions. So a certain way to orientate these, you know, on the front side view, you know, where it should be facing in the printer. Again, the final orientation of these bases and the fencing. The one thing I didn't like as a denture technician is you can see here on the bottom in the center there, all the different supports were in the intaglio of the denture. And I thought, you know, when we were taught to make dentures in, you know, school, or if you were taught in a laboratory like I was, we would never really allowed to touch the intaglio. And so now you're asking us to, once we break off the supports, you have all these little nibs, support kind of dimples, and you know, I don't feel comfortable going in there and grinding that out, whether it's with the burr or rubber point. So they do have fencing where you can go around the whole border. To me, that made more sense. I thought, okay, well, I can handle that. You know, we're used to polishing the borders and smoothing them, so I'm good with that. So this is how you would support the maxillary base. You can see the fencing, just kind of a view of what the fencing looks like. And that fencing does break off after printing. It does break off fairly simple. If you have a certain palette, certain areas that may need to be supported, you have to go ahead and add those nibs. As much as I don't like it, you have to. So, and then here's an example of the lower. The only thing about the lowers I noticed when we did ours, and with these, you have some supports that kind of support the buccal lingual flange in the posterior. So again, you're kind of going the intaglio a little bit of that lower, and you know, again, I have to go in there and polish it and adjust it, and you know, so hopefully maybe that gets better down the road. So again, these are just the properly oriented bases, angling and duplicating the bases. So all of these systems, these printers, it's another learning curve. You have to learn how to use these printers and how to set it up, and the material and the handling. So with this here, just kind of shows you a project analysis of your print time, how much resin volume you're going to use, the support. And so with this, it's about an hour and 8 minutes to print these two bases. And I think if you can get 4 on there, I think it's probably about 2 hours, maybe. Actually, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. So it doesn't add that much more time. So it's not like if you set one denture and it's normally 2 hours, and every denture you add, it doesn't add another 2 hours to each one. So you can view your slices, making sure that this is going to print properly to see if you're going to have any errors. We have kind of a movie that you can watch and see to show you if they're going to have any sort of errors. So again, that was with the carbon, and we used the Denka material. This is the Denka material that you can get here in the States. I just, you know, in Europe, it's not really available yet. And this is a nice material. They have few shades, A1, A2, A3, A3.5, B1, B2. So you're kind of limited on shades. This is the denture-based material, and they have their shading. It looks like they kind of shaded it very similar to like a Dentsply 199, original, light pink, reddish pink, dark pink. And then here's the Trian material. The Trian material comes in one color. It doesn't look that pretty, but as you saw in the mouth in that one picture where the occlusal plane was canted a little bit, that was this material. And it actually didn't look bad, especially for the Trian. So people ask, and I know doctors are going to ask, and I figure technicians are going to ask as well, how do you repair it? Can you repair it with regular acrylic? And I tried it. Yes, you can. A regular acrylic works, and yes, it can be relined. But for the cost of printing a denture, I think you can get like, I think you have maybe about $30, $35 in the cost of printing materials. If you're printing your teeth and printing your base, why not just print a new denture instead of relining it? Or you could just have the doctor take a wash impression inside the existing denture, rescan it, and just print another one for the cost. You know, it's an option, or reline. So the material that you can use for custom trays with the carbon materials, the Drevi material, And this is the photo dent tray, and it's a nice tray, green in color. Looks very nice. Pretty happy with it. We're using this on a carbon printer for our surgical guides and also our base plates. Now, some people are like, wow, you're printing base plates. And yeah, we do a lot of base plates. And for us, it seemed to work pretty well. Scanning, designing the base, I don't necessarily have to have the a level or a highly trained technician, designing base plates. I could teach someone, once they kind of learned the scanning and designing a little bit, I can show them, to do the outline and design the custom trays and base plates. So this material works really nice. And this material you do have to do when you light cure. It does need to be cured in a nitrogen atmosphere. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I used the Dentsply HIPAA material for bonding in the denture teeth on the milled denture, as I'll show you when that comes up, but this is the materials that I've used. So some of the results of in-house milled and printed. This is milled out of a Lucitone 199 puck. And the CAM strategy on this really, this is probably our first or second one here. And the CAM strategy really didn't work out very well. You can kind of see there's some deep grooves in the ridge there in the posterior. But all in all, it was just more for a learning curve. This was just something R&D, wasn't actual for a patient, but to just kind of work through the workflow of milling and gluing in or bonding in the teeth and polishing it and just seeing how everything flowed together. This is a shot of, obviously, the occlusal side and the sockets milled for the teeth. And I didn't really care for the way it turned out. Again, it's a learning curve for your CAM strategy for milling dentures. And I had a hard time getting the teeth to fit into this. I had to go around and relieve some of the acrylic around the sockets. I did get them to seat, but I don't want to have to do that. The printing results were quite better. So a little closer up shot, you can kind of see that's not from my burr. That was just how it kind of is still in the puck the way it came out. So I wasn't real happy with that. This is with the screws cut off, just kind of another look. Doesn't look pretty right now, but actually, when I was done with it, actually turned out better than I thought. So again, it was just more of a learning curve, kind of doing the R&D and working with this. And this is the puck, like I said, the Lucitone 199 puck. So here's the shot of the teeth in place, the best I could get them. I did have to cut the lingual of that number 6 to try to see if I get it to seat better with impinging on the socket. I kind of over-relieved it just to kind of see if I could get it to seat better. I'm not sure. The cuspids are flared out. There's a little bit about the design, and they kind of fit like, the denture teeth kind of fit like socks on a rooster. Or I guess maybe the base fitting to the denture was like that. But they fit pretty loose, so something we'll work on. And the PMMA puck, there's a ton of them out there. We happen to use this Rotava. This is probably a better picture of that milled PMMA, more accurate shading. And I thought it turned out nice. And this is the intaglio side. There's no supports you don't have to worry about. And this is the printed denture base from the carbon with the Dentka material. So you could see there are sockets, but they don't have the actual tooth kind of formed that would fit inside, kind of almost like a big tie diatoric type of thing, because this is going to be from the milled and from the printed teeth. And this is how it would be designed. At least this is how we designed it. And this is kind of, a screenshot of how it's going to be positioned and looked on the plate. You could see on the right where these denture bases are going to be printed in the milled teeth. And then on the left, those are going to be for actual denture teeth to fit into. And there's where I was talking about the little kind of diatorics for the denture teeth to fit into. Again, how it's positioned on the printer. And here's a close-up shot of the printing material. So you can definitely see the little lines, you know, showing the different layers of building this up. And it does polish away. I mean, it does polish smooth. You don't feel any sort of ridges. But even after it's polished and actually you can kind of see that. It's just kind of the byproduct of a printed denture. But it did print really nice. And here's the setup for printing the denture teeth. And here's a shot of the printed denture teeth. Again, I thought the anatomy for the printed and for the milled PMMA were okay. You could go in there and clean it up, but you know, I don't know if it'll get better in the future for the anatomy, occlusal anatomy. But I'll show you there is definitely a difference from the actual denture teeth from the manufacturer to the printing. So again, you can see here this fit well. One piece fit really nice. Again, you can kind of see the lines from the different printing. And it looks, I think in this picture, it looks pretty serious. You know, like maybe that might have a hard time polishing all that and ruining it, but actually not. You'll see it actually it polished pretty well. I don't know if it's just the camera picking that up more than what it is. So what I like to call pre-processing is kind of getting the denture base cleaned up, ready to go, have the printed teeth ready to go, or the milled teeth, like I said, a one arch, and we're gonna wanna clean those up with any sort of support pieces, nibs. You wanna smooth those and polish that. This is what I was talking about, kind of the support, kind of the lingual and buccal flange there in the intaglio. So it's not just on the periphery there, it's also inside. So just a rubber point, you can go in, it just takes it right down, smooth it. You could take a burr and then go, but I would probably go back with one of these acrylic polishers and go over it and smooth it. You don't want to have the patient, you know, have any sort of rough spots in there. Kind of a lingual view. And this is the printed teeth set in. Like I said, it fit. I didn't have to adjust it at all. It just fit right in. I was so happy with how that fits. And this one, this is one of the ones that I'm going to use to bond individual denture teeth. And you can kind of see it. It has the underside. I used the Kulzer teeth, and the Kulzer teeth kind of have that big diatoric type of protrusion into the denture tooth and out of the denture base there. And I will say the teeth fit right in, no issues whatsoever. I was really happy with the outcome of it. So if you're going to be using the stock teeth, you know, I would definitely take them off the card. I would boil them, steam them, whatever you need to do, sandblast them if you would like, you know, to air braid them. And to bond these in, you don't use, with the denture base material, you don't really use acrylic. You're going to use the same material that you're printing the denture base with. So what I did here is just used a dappen dish, and I used a green brush and kind of brushed my material in. Some people chose syringing it in with an eyedropper, however you feel more comfortable doing it. And then I had some micro brushes here to kind of clean up the excess. It's not the easiest, but it actually didn't turn out bad. These aren't cured in yet, but I did want to show you the denture teeth now positioned in that printed base. You can see the anatomy looks better, looks more accurate. So that looked really nice. Again, another view. I believe this is the milled PMMA teeth now sitting in the printed denture base. And occlusal view of the milled PMMA. So again, the anatomy, occlusal anatomy, there's some anatomy, mainly primary anatomy, not a lot of secondary anatomy, but you get the idea. And you can work on it. You can tweak it if you'd like. So one of the other learning curves of working with the printer is working with the materials. Dispensing the materials, the filtering of the materials. You have to filter it after you use it. There might be some cured pieces of resin that are in the materials, so you need to filter that out before you reuse it again. You have to wash, bonding, curing, different accessories you're going to need to. You're going to need a light cure unit. You're going to need glycerol, hot plate, different things you're going to need. So it's not a matter of just printing these bases, milling or printing the teeth and binding them in and you're ready to go. There's a whole protocol of what you need to do now to finish light curing this system to be FDA approved to go into the patient's mouth. So like I said, washing the parts, you use an isopropyl alcohol. People call it IPA, which is not a beer, by the way. I mean, I guess it's a beer, but we're not using beer, right? So yeah, and there's also machines or equipment that you can buy to kind of recycle your IPA, so you don't have to get rid of it right away. You know, that's out there. I didn't want to get too much into that, but these are just things that you have to kind of keep in mind. And not all materials, they need to be cured with glycerol. They'll all need to be washed. They'll all need to be light cured. But again, each different manufacturer has their own protocols of what they're doing, what you need to do for post-processing these. Drying time, bonding the teeth in. You can see here on the left, they're using an eyedropper to add material, kind of a swab to clean off the excess, light curing it, and then a final cure going into glycerol. So, like I said, I can't emphasize enough, it's not just a matter of printing these materials, bonding them, and off you go. There is still some post-processing work to do. But the nice thing is it doesn't have to be a trained technician. It could be an auxiliary person. And for the carbon, we're using the Drevi light cure system. With this machine, you could probably get about 2, maybe 3 bases in it, probably 2 more comfortably. Or you can get the Mac Daddy and get the PCU 90 and dual shelves and plenty of room. And so that's an option. So finalize, pumicing, polishing, and glaze. So they're going to pumice just like you would normally. Polishing, they high shine just like normal. I did use a glaze on mine. I did use Drevi's varnish, nano varnish from the intaglio, and I used a little bit of GC Opticolor glaze to colorize the occlusal anatomy of the printed and milled teeth. And now I did not use any composite. I love composite. I love Annexent composite. They make it look so much nicer. And you can do that by all means. There are people that are out there that have courses that are doing it, and I will do it. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. I wanted to kind of get more of all the basics down and how to get this implemented. Composite, I already know how to do, and so that's something that I can add down the road. But here you can kind of see this is the finished milled denture. That was the one I showed you, $199 with the teeth bonded in, and I thought it turned out okay. Just a basic denture. I wouldn't call it an economy denture. Call it a nice premium denture. And then this is the carbon printed with the Denture resin with actual Colzer teeth bonded into it. So the biggest thing you see is a lot of that tooth structure stuck into the printed base material, and it shows through. The only way around that would be to cut some of that pink and tooth colored away after it's bonded and build your pink composite up to try to cover that and mask that a little better. So it's kind of another view of it. I didn't spend a lot of time at trying to individualize the teeth and worry about the ginger. This was more, like I said, R&D and working through the process, working through a workflow. How is it going to work? I can always tweak and modify things, but again, at how much time do I want to put into this? Depending on what price point and what sort of type of denture you want. Is it going to be an economy? Is it just going to be a transitional denture, or what have you? So again, kind of an occlusal view. And this is the carbon printed Denture resin with the Denture base with printed denture teeth. And this was kind of an A2 shade. It's kind of a darker shade. As you can see here, kind of added a little Opticolor glaze for the occlusal surface. And just wanted to let you know in the news, I was talking to Sherry, and she mentioned to me that they have the Denture material that will be available for their Asiga printers, and with their UVtron light curing unit, it's 510K on that. So that's exciting, and that'll be great. I can't wait to see that done on the Asiga. Carbon and Dentsply kind of announced earlier this week, or late last week, I think, partnership and coming out with some materials. I don't know if it's going to be like a Lucitone 199 print material or tooth material or what, but I think we'll hear more about that at Lab Day. And last but not least, I saw this yesterday. Kulzer and Denka kind of made a partnership where you can partner with Kulzer. You can do your denture design online, I believe, on their website, and you can download the design and print your denture. So kind of interesting. Just thought I'd share that with you. Okay, I think, oh, I actually finished on time. Last time I went a little over, but I'll be at Lab Day. I know Whitmick's obviously going to be at Lab Day, so stop and see the fine folks at Whitmick's. I'll be around. If you see me, say hi. Just a reminder that Wednesday before Lab Day, IDP is doing a removable prosthetic roundtable. Just a few of the people. I'm going to be there, but I know there's going to be more and more denture techs. So any denture people out there going to be at Maggiano's in Chicago. So thank you, Whitmick. And if anybody has any questions or if you want to contact me personally, that's my email. And feel free. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. So, so thank you.
Thank you, Mark. What a great job. What a lot of information to gather for us. We do have one question today. They're asking if the Denka material can be used in the Bago Varseal printer, or is it just used in a carbon printer?
You're going to have to find out what Bago recommends to use for their printer. I'm not really sure because of so many different materials out there, but I would contact them to see what they have specifically. Now, theoretically, would any of the materials working in a machine? Maybe. It may work, but it may not be accurate. It may not be right. So I don't want to tell you either way. I wish I had a better answer for it, but I would contact them.
Okay, the next question we have is, can you explain what a lab has to do to be FDA compliant?
What we have to do to be FDA compliant? I
Yes.
would follow the manufacturers and the printer's instructions. It really kind of goes back to the printer and the material, and you follow their protocol. A lot of these that are coming out are FDA approved. You just need to make sure that you're going through the proper protocol of light curing and post-processing it the way it was recommended to do that to be 510K cleared. So like I said, you have to follow the instructions, what they have. Is probably the best answer I could give you.
Okay, and we have another question that's asking if Whitmick's will be showing printed dentures at Lab Day that you can see and feel, and I can answer that. Yes, we do plan to have some samples of printed dentures along with the Denka resins, the Asiga printer, and the UVtron light curing unit. So be sure to stop by our booth. All right.
I would definitely check that out there. And like I said, there is some people on social media doing some really nice stuff with the Asiga printer. Al Hodges is one of them. Bill Murray is another that I saw him doing some nice stuff. So definitely check them out.
Okay, thanks, Mark. One more question came up. The Whitmick's booth number, I think it is D42, but I'm sure you can check their magazine and it will definitely have the correct booth number for you. Okay, are there any other questions? Well, I would like to say that I appreciate everyone joining us today. Just a reminder that you should receive an email in about 1 to 2 days to tell you about how to get your credits. And we will also have the recorded webinar up on our website within a couple of days as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Rita. Perfect job. You did great.